Hey, this is Pad Movie Mark or the Mad Movie Mark movie review. Thank you for joining me as I review the 1974 crime thriller, The Taking of Pelham 123.
Okay, kid, out loud now so as I can hear what you're saying.
Okay, well, I'll move the mic as close as I can here and I'll talk as loudly as possible. I'm reviewing every movie that has a 100% fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm giving them all a score of 1 to 10. After I watch them and score them all, I will rank them from worst to best. I started in the 1920 silent movie era, and now I'm at 1974 with The Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3. This movie has a 100% fresh rating from the critics and an 88% fresh rating from the audience. It has a star-studded cast of Walter Matthau as Lieutenant Garber, Robert Shaw as Mr. Blue. The following year, in 1975, he would go on to his most famous role in Jaws. Also stars Martin Bassam as Mr. Green, Hector Aludo as Mr. Gray, Earl Hindman as Mr. Brown. People of my generation will know him as Mr. Wilson from Home Improvement, the man behind the fence, Jerry Stiller as Lieutenant Rico, and Dick O'Neill as Corell. Now, this is my second viewing of The Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3. The first time I saw it, I thought it was a great movie. The second time around, I think that it's even better. This is such a great crime thriller. So it's about four hijackers who, one normal day, nothing special about it, in New York City, they decide to hijack a subway car.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, you see this gun? Fires 750 rounds of 9mm ammunition per minute. In other words, if all of you simultaneously were to rush me, not a single one of you would get any closer than you are right now.
Now, this is something that hadn't been done before in New York City, according to the movie. It's not something that you would normally see. So they hijack the subway car, and they basically call the transit authority to let them know that they've done this. Now, at the transit authority, the head guy there is Walter Matthau. At that time, he's taking a group of Japanese tourists who work on a Japanese transit line. They came to New York City because New York City has the biggest subway in the world, and they wanted to kind of see how it operates. He's taking them on a tour, and when they learn that the subway car has been taken, you kind of see the dichotomy of how things work here. Now, Walter Matthau is part of sort of like the police. He's part of the cops, and he is very concerned about the lives of the hostages on the train. Now, Dick O'Neill, who plays Corell, he is more in charge of the subway cars and making sure that things happen on time and that the subways get to where they're supposed to be. And he's concerned about his subway cars and about things being on time.
Pelham 123, what do you mean the train has been taken? Are you the motorman?
Negative.
Well, then who are you? Nobody's authorized to be in that cab except the lousy motorman. Now identify yourself.
Listen, train master. Your locomotive has been hijacked by a group of heavily armed men.
It what?
We are holding 17 passengers and the conductor hostage in the first car. I am quite prepared to kill any or all of them if you do not obey my commands to the letter. Have I made myself quite clear?
And there's a funny back and forth between these two throughout the movie. Now, as the movie goes on, you definitely see more of a suspense, more of a tense, nature between these two. Walter Matthau, I believe, always realizes the danger, and he always realizes the trouble that they're in here. But Corell kind of doesn't see that. He just sees this as kind of an annoyance, kind of like a hindrance of his job. But as the movie goes on, he realizes that this is actually a serious situation. Now, the four guys who are hijacking the car, they are led by Mr. Blue, and Mr. Green is kind of he is a guy who worked on the subways before, so he has knowledge of subway cars. Mr. Gray is a bit of a loose cannon. Now, Mr. Blue does not trust Mr. Gray. You learn about that a little bit later in the movie.
What do you want, Mr. Green?
Is everything okay?
Will you go back and sit down? I do not want Mr. Gray and Mr. Brown alone with the rest of the passengers.
Why don't you trust him?
Yes, I trust Mr. Brown. I do not trust Mr. Gray. I think that Mr. Gray is an enormous, arrogant pain in the arse who could turn out to be trouble. I also think that he is mad.
Because he says that Mr. Gray is someone who is psychotic and a bit mad and could probably just at any moment just kill everyone at whim, because that's the kind of person that he is. And then you have Mr. Brown. Now, Mr. Brown is someone who has less of a personality in this movie. Of the hijackers, you learn the least about him. He kind of gets lost in the fray, I would say, because he doesn't really have a big important role here. He's just kind of one of the hijackers on the train. I would say he's the least important of the hijackers in this movie. So the hijackers, they are demanding $1 million be stacked in certain denominations, and it is to be brought to them by 2 cops. They don't want any police or law enforcement in the tunnels, and they just want this money brought to them. Now, throughout the movie, the cops, the transit authority, Walter Matthau, everyone's kind of questioning, like, what is this plan that these people have, because they're stuck in a hole, in a subway, and there's no way for them to get out. So even if the money's brought to them, there's no way for them to leave.
Understand me, Harry? We're taking their threat seriously. Now, what do you got upstairs?
Trucks, cars, emergency, medical, and rescue units, the works, Phil.
Harry, tell me something, will you? They're in a tunnel, surrounded on all sides, top and bottom. Now, how do they expect to get away?
Beats the shit out of me, Phil.
It's very apparent throughout the movie that these hijackers have a schedule that they want to keep. Mr. Blue and Walter Matthau are constantly in contact with each other, talking about timelines, when they want the money to be delivered, how long Walter Matthau has the money, to deliver the money. There's a lot of push and pull with the mayor. The mayor at first says that the city does not have $1 million to give to these people. He is a mayor that is not liked in New York City. In fact, he is booed by the people when he finally shows up. So he says they don't have the money, but then he realizes that there's 18 lives on the train, and that, he's going to have to give up the money, or he's going to lose a large amount of voters who don't want to see people just be killed on a subway train. And this is part of the movie where some of the people believe that these lives don't matter, and then there's the Walter Matthau group who, yes, we definitely have to save these people. So they end up getting the money together. They're able to get the money to the train, to the robbers, and then the robbers enact their plan to get away. Now, obviously, this movie is from 1974, but I don't want to give too much away because the ending is actually really suspenseful. It's really fantastic. The plan that they put forth to get away is a very solid plan. Walter Matthau and the police, they are also very cunning, and they kind of realize what the plan is almost when it's too late, but it's a nice cat and mouse game between the two. And Walter Matthau and Robert Shaw, fantastic cat and mouse game between the two of them. And then you have Lieutenant Rico and Corell, who provide some funny lines in the movie. I would say more Corell. Lieutenant Rico is more of a serious person. In the beginning of the movie, he is very lighthearted. He's cracking jokes because in the beginning of the movie there's no issues. It's just a normal day in New York City. Everyone's having fun, and then the suspense kind of slowly builds up until they realize when a hostage towards the end of the movie is killed that this is more of a serious situation than they thought there was. Walter Matthau always, his character, Lieutenant Garber, always thought it was a serious situation, but once that first hostage is killed, I think that kind of really puts into perspective what's going on, and people start realizing, okay, that this isn't just about my subway cars and about the timeline. There's actually something terrible going on here. The acting in this movie is absolutely fantastic. Walter Matthau, to me, he is fantastic in almost everything that he's in. I think in today's world, he's a very underappreciated actor. If you think about like the best actors who ever lived, a lot of people aren't going to think about Walter Matthau, but he's done so many great things, and he's such a terrific actor. I think that that's just really sad that he's not considered among the upper echelon of actors today. Robert Shaw is absolutely fantastic as well, but I expected no less from him after his starring performance in Jaws, where he's just absolutely spectacular. And then you have all the side characters. I mean, Jerry Stiller, I don't know how famous he was at this point in the 1970s, but you know, he definitely becomes a famous actor, and he's definitely someone who is appreciated, and I thought he did a fantastic job. The writing is great. This is based off a book, so the source material is fantastic. It's just it's a great thriller. It's a great crime drama. You're on the edge of your seat the whole time. At the end of the movie, the rail car ends up going like 70 miles an hour and is out of control, and you know, that's also a heart pumping situation, and it's just a really good build up. It's a really good suspenseful movie, and it's just to me it's pretty much a perfect movie. There's not anything about it that I can critique that's bad about it. The very end of the movie is great. The way they capture the last criminal, the last hijacker at the end of the movie, I thought was funny, and it was done very well. And it makes you think back to previous things in the movie, and it's just really well done. I give it a 10 out of 10. I think it's spectacular. I don't have a lot else to say about it besides that it's fantastically acted. Oh, I will say that I love the fact that in the movie that the characters are named after colors: Mr. Blue, Mr. Green, Mr. Gray, Mr. Brown. Clearly, I'm going to say clearly Reservoir Dogs borrowed from this, because in Reservoir Dogs, the characters are named similarly. There might be a Mr. Pink. I think maybe they use different colors, but it's the same thing in Reservoir Dogs, where the main characters are given colors as as nicknames, so that they're not using real names. In this movie, it's I didn't realize till towards the middle of the movie that they each have a hat on that matches their color. So if you lose track of who is what color, you can just follow their hats, basically. And I didn't realize until the end of the movie, when they take off their disguises, that they're all wearing disguises, fake mustaches, and it's just brilliant. This movie is brilliant. It's a fantastic action movie, and it's underappreciated, because when you hear some of the greatest movies ever made, you never hear Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3 in that breath. And I think that's sad, because I think this is a great movie. I think it's one of the better movies that I've seen in a while on this list. And there's just no negatives. I can't think of one thing negative about this movie. I can't think of one thing to critique. I can't think of one thing to say, well, I would do this differently, or this didn't belong, or there's just not. It's just a perfect movie from start to end. So I give it a 10 out of 10. Thank you. I hope you join me for my next review. Ali, Fear Eats the Soul. Thank you. I hope you have a great day.